wa msimu. Kuwana uhakika sasa, kukulea stakabali wa baadaye. Tufanye kazi pamoja na tukue pamoja. Kuimarisha Kenya ni jukumu la Farm Kenya.
Well, today is not the 14th of February because when 14th hits, actually it evokes a different emotion depending on where you stand in your life. Sometimes you're just single, you're alone, it's okay. It doesn't cost much on the 14th, it's a normal day. But if you're in a relationship, then 14th, a lot of people mark the Valentine's Day. And at the center, at the core of it, is the symbolism of sending somebody a flower as a sign of love. And that's when you realize flowers are expensive. And you start getting very interesting ideas. Maybe I could establish my own flower farm. By the 14th of February 2025, then I will cut some of this cost. That's why today, right here on the Farm Kenya Show, we're discussing flower farming and how you can be empowered to go into flower farming so that come 14th February 2025, you are set and even you are supplying your boys and your other friends flowers. Flower farming, how do we get into that? Of course, in today we have a specialist, crop scientist, Dr. Monique Taiti. He'll be giving us details in that regard. And in the spirit of love and flowers, of course, we have Chef Ron Kamau with us this afternoon. Chef,
yeah.
I'm told that there are edible flowers. At Nairobi Street Kitchen, do you guys serve edible flowers?
Yes, we use them to decorate some of our pastry items.
Ah.
Yeah.
And you urge customers to eat them?
It's edible, so you can eat it, but it's a preference. You can either keep it aside or you can have it together with the dessert or the particular item that you've been served with.
Now I see that.
Yeah.
That's why we'll be talking about flowers. But today, what are we making? What's on the menu?
Today we'll be making one of our burgers from Buttered Buns. It's called the black bean and tofu burger.
Okay.
Yes.
What's unique about this burger from the burgers that we know?
This is completely vegetarian.
Okay.
And I doubt a lot of people knew you can make like a burger patty from jahe.
Huh?
Yeah.
Hey! Drum rolls. We are rebranding jahe now. you know, some people have called jahe construction material. Like there's all this deformation of jahe. I don't know whether jahe is really misunderstood from the general populace. What exactly is going on there?
Well, it has a very bold flavor, so getting it to merge with other items, it's possible. It's just that sometimes our experience with jahe out here hasn't been that flavorful. Okay. I'd say, because even for us, we have a staple we make. It's a type of a mashed dish or mukimo that uses jahe and ripe bananas. So some people love it, some people don't. Some people you can make stew with it, but they feel like the jahe comes out a bit too much. But you can just add subtle, like good flavors, spices to it, like make a curry and add your jahe to it to get a bit more flavor to whenever you're having the jahe.
That's incredible. So we're making a patty from
that black bean itself,
okay,
or jahe, how, like as we know it.
That's incredible, man. I can't wait. Wow. We are reviving jahe and rebranding it, you know, which is very, very interesting. That will be something that I will be looking forward to at the other end of the show, where we'll be actually involving you. We make recipes on this show to make sure that during the weekend you get an opportunity to practice something new. You don't just remain comfortable in the palette that you've been exposed to for the past 20 years. And that's why Farm Kenya is the place to be. But as I told you, today we're discussing matters flower farming in Kenya. And looking at this industry is dominated by big players. It's a very essential industry. I'm reminded by a study that was done by the Monetary Policy Committee, and this was just after what we experienced in 2020, the whole COVID scenario where people lost jobs, countries were closed down, and remember, flower is a very export-oriented industry. So with the lockdowns, we were not sending any flowers outside as we should in the numbers that should be there. So people all started losing jobs and whatnot. Then when we opened up, there was a study that was done. And actually, then it is estimated that the sector employs close to 500,000 people, including over 100,000 engaged directly in flower farms as employees, and it impacts actually over 2 million people. And 2 million livelihoods indirectly. So imagine that is 2.5, 3 million. Numbers have changed. It's been 2-3 years ago. Those numbers most likely have gone up. Question is, how can we actually bring this flower farming to small scale area? Because that's where majority of Kenyans operate. Is there room for small scale players in the farming, flower farming ecosystem? We'll be looking at that. What are the conditions if you want to go into flower farming? What are the considerations? How do you source for market? You know, all these dynamics, just to make sure that if at all you choose to go the flower way, you are properly equipped. But before we do that, let's begin with some news. All right, and starting us off is matters honey and beekeeping. Remember, Kenya is the third largest honey producer in Africa after Ethiopia and Tanzania. Now, research done by the Kenya Institute for Public Research and Analysis shows that we produce only 25,000 metric tons annually. Despite the potential of honey production and the benefits of apiculture, very little income accrues from the activity. Most of the income is based on domestic sales, with only 2% of the production exported overseas. And this raises the question about tapping into the global market. Our reporter, Paul Thiongo, details.
Bees are not just nature's honeymakers, they are crucial to our environment. Through pollination, bees support the growth of trees, flowers and crops, contributing to biodiversity and sustaining ecosystems. This delicate balance ensures food security and a healthy environment for all. Traditionally, bees were kept in log hives high up in trees, with honey harvesting being a skill passed down through generations. Today, beekeeping has evolved, blending age-old practices with modern techniques to meet the growing demand for honey and other bee products.
For you to start beekeeping, you can start with as low as 40,000 Kenya shillings, which can get you around 5 hives. And from now, your 5 hives, now you can increase the numbers willingly, depending on the harvest that you get from your initial investment of 5 hives. But there are other accompanying equipment like the suit, the smoker, and other machines like the extractor, which also now help in increasing value for honey. Bee Farmers Hub specifically provides all this equipment to the women groups and also other individual farmers that would like to produce honey across the country.
Kenya produces about 25,000 metric tons of honey annually. This is, however, an insignificant amount at just about 20% of its potential.
Very often what we find is that African beekeepers have trouble excelling. They have trouble finding a good market for their honey. They don't have enough reliable information to sell the honey at a good price. They also have poor packaging. So because of that, they have a hard time getting reliable and also good buyers for their honey. So even if they do get buyers, they will not fetch a very good price.
Recognizing these challenges, Kenya Originals and Bees with Stories have partnered to support local beekeepers. This partnership is not just about honey production, it's about fostering a sustainable environment and empowering farmers with tools they need to succeed.
Bees with Stories is a great opportunity for us to solidify a partnership that is about local sourcing and local communities. They empower African beekeepers, and for us it's a perfect match. And the kind of partners that we like to work with, they also have honey which is kind of one of our key ingredients in some of our products.
We unfortunately work in a field where there's a lot of adulterated honey that lands on the market. So we want to make sure that the honey is pure and also non-smoky. That's a very key factor. Our buyers will not take our honey if it's smoky. So we have to work with the beekeepers to make sure, to train them how not to over smoke the hives when they are doing inspection, when they are doing a harvesting, making sure that they learn the technique. If they were doing over smoke honey, then teach them how not to over smoke and transition them with them as they move to producing better quality honey.
Launched in 2018, Bees with Stories is dedicated to empowering African beekeepers by providing them access to global markets, fair prices, and technical support. A visit to Caroline Ndunge's farm, a member of a local beekeeping women's group in Kitui County, revealed how farmers have been trained to harvest honey, ensuring not just their safety, but also make sure they do not destroy the combs in their modern beehives.
Mara ya kwanza si kufuna vizuri, lakini sasa juu zilikuwa zinakuja zinatoroka. Lakini wakati mwaka vile umeisha, mwaka wa pili zikakuwa sasa zimejua ziko na boma hapo, zimekaa na sasa tunaanza mafuno. Akanieleza vile nitafanya, vile nitakuwa ndazitunza. Sasa kutoka hapo mimi nikaanza kufuna.
Ruth Mwanzia, a member of another women's group from the same county, began with only 3 beehives 20 years ago. Today, she is the proud owner of more than 100 modern beehives, including the Langstroth beehive, which she says, with the right conditions, can produce up to 10 liters of honey annually.
Hatukuwa na hizi machines kupata ile azali fine. Sasa watu wengine, customers wengine wanataka hii kona wax, wengine wanataka hii fine. So tukanunua hizi the recent modern beehives. Tukanunua pamoja na hizi extractors and what have you. We serve customers with different interests. Kuna hao wanataka hizi za sikona cops hizo, kuna hao wanataka fine. So we accommodate them.
Bees with Stories aims to strengthen its presence in the Kenyan market and explore opportunities to expand into neighboring countries like Uganda, Rwanda and Burundi. This regional extension is expected to provide ongoing support for local beekeepers while making a broader range of Kenyan honey and bee products available to consumers. For KTN, I'm Paul Thiongo.
Indeed, the bee ecosystem right there, streamlining partnerships with industry, and also we can see the upgrade in technology to refine the product. Now let's move to another area, and this touches macadamia, where the Macadamia Nuts Association of Kenya has asked the government to reevaluate the policy allowing the export of unprocessed macadamia. They have pointed out that export of raw nuts has led to significant financial losses for local processors, farmers, and job layoffs for processors, employees, and suppliers. Now, the Association of Processors want an immediate reinstatement of the total ban on the export of unprocessed macadamia in order to safeguard the quality of exports and also sustainability of the industry, Esther Dana reports.
This follows the approval of the direct export of raw and processed macadamia nuts by the government of Kenya through the Ministry of Agriculture. This decision, the association claims, has resulted in an increase in the number of Chinese processors who are buying grafted nuts directly from farmers in large quantities, leaving indigenous nuts unsold. This move, they say, has had a severe impact on different stakeholders in the value chain, including nut processing companies, which are experiencing losses exceeding 50%, forcing many to shut down.
Exports from Kenya reached Kenya shillings 3.3 billion for kernels, which could have attracted a significantly higher price if nut in shell was readily available for value addition. Before the lifting of the ban, that's the point, sorry, Kenya exported processed kernel to diversified markets to a tune of Kenya shillings 6.9 billion. That is in the year 2022.
While decrying low prices from Chinese processors and brokers' involvement in the value chain, the Macadamia Association chair has said that there is need for initiatives to be developed to educate farmers about market dynamics to ensure they receive fair and equitable compensation for their produce. Despite offering lower prices when compared to local processors, Chinese processors offer immediate cash payment, making it attractive to farmers, consequently making local processors unable to compete with the immediate cash payments offered by the Chinese buyers.
The market for unprocessed nuts is only in one market, which is China, which means Kenya is narrowing its market into a single market rather than diversified markets. It should be understood that majority of the farmers do not get the benefit of pricing when the nuts are exported in shell. Brokers are the main ones that get this benefit. This is jeopardizing long cultivated relationships with buyers.
The direct export is said to have led to a scarcity of processed nuts within Kenya, driving up prices and turning it into luxury items, putting the processing industry at the brink of collapse as Chinese buyers are using X-ray machines to reject low-quality nuts, reducing income for farmers.
We've seen a drastic, first of all, reduction in the availability of nuts that the factories are able to get for processing. We've seen a big drop in terms of quality that we are getting of macadamia from farmers. It now means that the processors are getting very bad quality nuts. We've seen a very big drop in terms of our workers because factories are not operational.
Further, the association has decried that by exporting unprocessed nuts, the government is exporting jobs that would otherwise benefit many livelihoods as there is reduced availability of nuts for value addition. If the directive remains as is, the association has said that macadamia farmers stand not to gain from the negotiated trade agreement with USA AGOA. With 5,000 jobs already lost as a result of selling unprocessed macadamia, the association now fears that an additional 20,000 jobs might be lost in the months to come, putting at stake 50,000 livelihoods. To this, they've asked the government to protect the macadamia industry in order to sustain its value chain. For KT News, I am Esther Diana in Nairobi.
Thank you very much, Esther Diana, for that report. And it is a going concern, looking what exactly is going on right there and the concerns of macadamia farmers in Kenya saying, protect us. We can't compete as it stands and the local market is being impacted by this move. Let's see how the government will react to that. In the meantime, let's head to the border. Namanga, where the Kenya Plant Health Inspectorate Service, that is KEPHIS, has issued a stern warning to unscrupulous traders flooding the country with fake seeds. I was speaking during an inspection tour at the Namanga one-stop border post. KEPHIS officials stated that they are on a high alert to prevent the importation of counterfeit seeds across the border. In collaboration with the relevant authorities, KEPHIS has intensified the inspection of all cereal and tuber seeds to ensure high quality and protect farmers from dishonest traders. The use of low-quality seeds has been linked to poor crop yield in various parts of the country.
Umuhimu wa mbegu bora, na hapo pia tulikuwa tunaongea ili wale watu wanakusa mbegu hapa Kenya pia mbegu iwe ya rahisi ili wakulima wengi wawe wanamundu kununua mbegu. Tuangalie ni nini nafanya bei ya mbegu iwe rahisi, kwa sababu bei ikiwa rahisi wakulima hataenda kununua mbegu ingine wanafikiria ni mzuri lakini sio mbegu bora, na ikiingia hapa ingine inaweza kuituletea magonjwa.
There has been misinformation that the seed regulations plant breeders' rights will make that the farmers cannot exchange seeds or planting materials among themselves. That is far from the truth. the truth of the matter is that regulations will protect farmers from unscrupulous traders who would wish to sell uncertified seeds or planting materials.
Definitely, as concerns come up on matters to do with the quality of seeds that we get into the country, and KEF is doing its mandate to make sure that we're getting quality seeds. This is a part of the concerns that we'll be discussing today, where we are focused on flower farming in the country. How do you get into it? Are there quality seeds for flowers? You know, apart from that, where is the market? Macadamia, sector players are complaining we don't have enough for the local market. Is it the same with flowers? Our focus today is flower farming. And in studio we have Dr. Moniki Taite, who's a crop scientist, who will be giving us the details and fill us in on how to get into flower farming. But at this particular moment, we take a short break right here on the Farm Kenya Show. When you come back, it's going to get flowery. Stay tuned.
Pamoja na tukue pamoja, kuimarisha Kenya ni jukumu la Farm Kenya.
StarTime's home solar solution with solar panels, hybrid inverter, and lithium battery, empowering you to do the things that really matter. A complete and reliable home solar solution. Call us today. StarTime Solar. Power your life.
You saved my life. I'll never ever forget it.
Get ready for a roller coaster ride of love, betrayal.
You are such a liar! You're the liar here!
And intrigue. Welcome to the world of soap operas, where passion runs deep.
I will get my revenge! I will get back at all of you!
And secrets abound.
If I did something wrong, I only did it because I wanted to protect our family.
From scandalous affairs to bitter rivalries.
Why do you always only see my faults? I'm sorry if I was not as smart as you.
KTN Home Soap Operas is your guilty pleasure destination for all things drama. Brace yourself for shocking revelations.
Lucas! You're heartless!
I'll see you
You're
all
a monster,
burning
Lucas!
in hell.
And unforgettable moments that will keep you on the edge of your seat.
It was love that caused my downfall.
Don't miss a single episode of your favorite soap, where every twist and turn is more captivating than the last.
Show me where she is right now!
Please, calm down.
Where is your mistress?
Come here. Please.
Get your hands off me!
KTN. Welcome home. Enjoy all your back-to-school essentials on fully stocked shelves. Best deals and offers on all your back-to-school essentials. Cushion for all your parents' and guardians' pockets. Because we're big on you. Back to school, big on you. Shop now and make this year your biggest yet. Naivas saves you money.
With God, comfort replaces pain. Peace replaces confusion. Hope replaces sorrow. God loves you and knows you personally. He hears you and speaks to you in your thoughts, in your heart, and through living prophets. Come, hear the words God has for you.
Watch the General Conference Saturday, 5th of October at 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. and Sunday, 6th of October at 6:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. on KTN Home.
Kwa mkono ambao unalima pamoja na tukue pamoja. Kuimarisha Kenya ni jukumu la Farm Kenya.
All right, welcome back to the Farm Kenya show. And as I told you, we're going to get flowers. And who better to discuss flowers than Dr. Monique Taiti. Dr. welcome to the show.
Thanks a lot.
You know, you're a crop scientist. So when I saw that title, I was like, we're going to be in a lab coat with those goggles, you know, and a lot of mist around us. What do you do as a crop scientist?
Thanks a lot. Good afternoon, viewers. I'm Dr. Monique Taiti, crop scientist. Thanks a lot, Noah. As opposed to, you know, the agriculture industry is diverse. And in agriculture, you can either specialize in livestock farming or crop production. And when, again, you come to crop production, you are either an agronomist consulting in crop husbandry in terms of production, or you are either an expert looking into the analysis on conditions favorable for crop production in terms of analysis for disease and pest management, conditions suitable for production. There is an element of research in crop scientists as opposed to agronomy. That's the main difference. There is a lot of research. Okay. As a scientist, you keep on researching on the pests and, of course, the pest build-up and introduction of pests in the farming industry is something that is occurring on almost daily basis. Now we have FCM on flowers, you know, a pest that was not there in our traditional flower farming in the olden days.
Okay, I see that. So research very critical. And I love how almost every sector there is this element of working together.
Yes.
It's not very linear. It's very cyclic, sort of.
Yes.
But since today we're focusing on flower farming, the status of flower farming in Kenya, because it's an industry that from majority of the people, they see it as a big boys industry. So we know flower farms, you know, those are big tracts of land, people go there to work. So a normal Kenyan walking in the street, I can think about maize farming in my 1 acre, 2 acre. Rarely do I think about flower farming. Like I'll go plant flowers. Talk to me about how the sector is divided. Is it predominantly leaning towards large-scale players, or are there also small-scale players? And what does that mean? The status quo of the flower industry in Kenya.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Flower farming, to start with, is one of subsectors of horticulture. Horticulture is divided into olericulture, that is vegetable farming. There is pomoculture, fruit farming. And then we have floriculture, which is flower farming. Flower farming, as you pose, is that it has predominantly been a big boys business in terms of scale of production. But we are now championing the production of flowers among the small-scale farmers. In as much as farmers are capable to do vegetable farming, which is olericulture, there are tracts they can manage to do onion farming, they can manage to do potato farming, they can manage to do cucumber farming, carrot farming, and the like. The same farmer can do flower production in terms of the variety and the species. Because again, flower production is also scaled towards the species and the varieties that you are talking about. The species is the lowest taxonomy in when you are classifying living organisms, and plants, flowers especially also happen to be in the kingdom Plantae. Okay. So, and actually to start with, what is a plant? And we would say that a plant is in the plant kingdom, and I'm a specialist in crop plant. There is a major difference, and I think at this juncture it's very important to expound that every crop is a plant, and not all plants are crops. Crops are produced, and crops are domesticated plants for various uses and purposes. You can have production for food, that becomes a crop. Production for bioaesthetics, that is like flowers now, produced for bioaesthetics. You can also produce for medicinal value of the plant. Whatever has been domesticated and produced for a certain purpose by the humankind becomes a crop. And therefore, it is possible that small-scale farmers can do flower production. When you look at the two categories of flowers. For example, the big players in terms of large-scale producers of cut flowers have majored in rose production. Cut flowers in terms of rose production. But you can also do open field farming in flowers. And I think this is where most of us small scale are not quite sure of what do you mean by open large scale production of flowers. These flowers, we call them summer flowers. And these summer flowers are called summer flowers because they are majorly produced in the summer season in the European countries, or in Europe. In Europe, where we have 4 seasons, we have winter, spring, summer, autumn. And when there is summer, there is sufficient sunlight, the conditions are conducive, and they produce summer flowers. The same flowers can be produced when they are not in a position to produce due to unfavorable climates in their region.
So if I'm getting you correctly,
yes.
First of all, I love the quote, crops are domesticated plants, man. That's a massive quote, you know, you just drop it like, you know what, crops are domesticated plants.
Yes.
But you say, when it comes to flower production, there is the open field you've mentioned.
Yes.
And there is what we see big players do. They do in these massive greenhouses.
Yes.
Maybe just, if we can walk back a little bit. If you want to go into flower farming.
Yes.
As a farmer, you have your 2 acres, 5 acres somewhere. And you're thinking, maybe I can grow flowers listening to Dr. Tahiti. What am I looking at? What are the considerations before going into flower farming?
One, you look at the variety, the species of the flower, because the first question in flower production, as opposed to other agronomical crops, flowers are not mainly grown for consumption. Though, actually, there are some flowers that are edible. There are flowers that are edible, and they fall again in horticulture. When you're talking about broccoli, broccoli is a flower. Cauliflower is a flower. Brussels sprouts are flowers, which are edible. They are the part that we eat in those vegetables is actually the flower. But the flower that now probably we want to look at for export is a crop plant that is not edible. So you look at the market first. The key thing, the foundation of export or production of flowers is the market. Do you have the market? That's the first question. Because you can produce flowers, but if you don't have the market, then they overwhelm you in terms of where you take these flowers. So the key thing is the market. Then you have to look at other inputs that are required for production. Do you have space? Do you have space? Not necessarily land, because you can do production in closed buildings, like when you have potted plants. You can have a very small greenhouse measuring 8 to 15, and you do your pot mums. These are small potted plants which are grown for, again, aesthetics. That is what we call indoor landscaping in terms of horticulture. And if you have the market and then you have water, because they'll, like any other plants, they'll consume water. Then you must also think about nutrition, because you need to feed them. And then again, you need to consider pest and disease management. Actually, we say pest management. Now we are coming from pest and disease. As you realize, diseases are also pests. Yes. So it's a pest management.
Diseases are not domestic. That would be funny. Yeah. So pest management also becomes very critical.
Yes.
So you factored all this in. Of course, the most common question would be how is the market right now as we speak, since you're in the industry? For a farmer who wants to go into this or is in this already, you say we have to target the export market. How's the balance between local consumption or local utilization of our flour vis-a-vis export? Do we export 99%?
Thanks a lot, Noah. One thing I would say is that flowers or a flower is something that is used on daily basis. At the moment, flowers is just like food for consumption, because they are used in various for various reasons and purposes. They are in various events, including burials, and burials happen. And we pray that, you can't pray that people don't die, because that's human nature. At one time we'll die, but burials happen, and you find a bucket of a bouquet of flowers. There are weddings. So in our local context in Kenya, if you go to city market and other outlets, or every other town, you find the flower vendors. And they are targeting, including birthdays. There is the Mother's Day. There is the Valentine, the booming season for the flowers. So it would be possible for a small-scale farmer to produce for local consumption, for local use in the manner that I have explained. But also there are farmers who feel, because again, small scale is relative. Small scale is relative in terms of how intensive do you want to do your production. You can have a greenhouse of 8 by 15 that can economically outdo a field of 10 acres based on the variety of the flower that you are doing. Yes. Because again, they also fetch different prices. They occur in, for example, orchids, and orchids are quite a little bit expensive when you consider them to ornithogalums or Star of Bethlehem, erigiums, and the like. They will depend on what kind of a niche is that flower. And then is it possible to produce? And we have come here to encourage the small-scale growers that it is possible to do intensive flower production and farming in a small unit area as opposed to the large-scale production in terms of tracts of land. Yes.
So you can do in a small unit of areas, you've rightly put it. So you've spoken about the type of flowers. I know earlier on you had mentioned the issue of summer flowers, especially when they are not able to produce that. And, you know, we are in the equators, we're in Africa, so weather is working to our favor. So, I mean, for small-scale farmers, because now you're focusing, you've done your market right. And by the way, this sourcing of market, because I see we discuss markets, and we normally sort of glide over it. We say you have to source a market, and after that you do this and that. And the farmer is asking, okay, how do I go about this issue of sourcing a market? Is it me going to the internet and searching? Okay, where is the flower demand? As an industry player, what works for a small-scale farmer to be able to access market, especially that export market that you're talking about?
Thanks a lot. Noah, flower production has many players. There are many players that are now ready, as we talk, to assist the small-scale interested flower producer or grower. We have the AFA, Agricultural and Food Authority Directorate. It advises farmers, and they have their own extension workers. There is FPIC, Fresh Produce Exporters Association of Kenya. There is KEFIS now that is giving farmers certified smart seeds. There is the Minister of Agriculture also comes in. There are many advices, and the key thing here is information dissemination and how well can the farmer access that information. Because we have agronomists, we have people who can advise farmers, at times even in their doorstep. In every county, there is an establishment for the under the Agricultural and Food Directorate that can advise every other person who is interested in flower production, including now marketing, the one that you're asking. You don't need to go to the internet, and again also, the big players now, the people you are calling large-scale producers, they are enticing and they are already recruiting now agronomists. I know of a big establishment in terms of export of cut flowers, who is now, who has more than 6,000 outgrowers all over the country. In producing summer flowers. As long as you qualify in terms of meeting the standards of production, you are eligible to become an outgrower for a certain large producer. Because of course, exporting flowers, you have to meet certain criteria, certain standards, and you have to be first of all, you have to be registered as an exporter at AFA. Then again, you have to be audited by KEFIS. There are several regulatory bodies. And again, also PCPB will come in, pest and control. Because again, the market is worried in terms of one, the quality, and also now they are worried about what has been used to produce these flowers in terms of residues. Initially, it was a matter of thinking about a flower is not used for human consumption, and therefore I can spray any pest control product. But nowadays, there are several regulations. Those big players, the large-scale growers, are in a position to meet. But again, they are aware. If the small-scale farmer can start by being anchored as an outgrower, and they are there, they are available. This is information that we can disseminate to our small-scale growers, those who want to venture into floriculture. Then they will be given the volumes, first of all, based on their ability to produce, and of course the critical requirements in flower production, including water, will come in handy for a small-scale farmer to be recruited by a big exporter in the country.
Okay, definitely. So what you're saying, as it stands right now, for you to be able to tap on the opportunities that are there in the external market, the export market, is that 99% of the chances lie with you becoming an outgrower, being linked to a large producer, as you know, you learn the industry and whatnot. Speaking about the different types of flowers, I know you've touched on the summer flower. Based on the scale, since there is a limitation for small-scale flowers, I'm looking at return on investment in that small space. You really have to take care of the input, but also the type of flower that you grow. So talking about the low-hanging fruit, I mean flowers stand fruits, but talking about that, what are some of the types of flowers that now farmers especially that cooled easily. If you go into it, it wouldn't be very difficult to get attached to maybe a large-scale player to be able to tap into this export market.
Yeah, correct. Well, we have a wide range of summer flowers, including Arabicum. We can do Arabicum, which is actually started from the bulbs. It's like the bulb onion. And after production, after harvest, it becomes easier for that small-scale farmer, instead of going again to look for seeds, the small bulbs, the small flowers that did not attain the required height in terms of centimeters required, can be used as seeds for the next crop. So flower production is as easy as that. If I am going to get a bag, for example, you can start by multiplying the seeds initially. You don't need to look for a big budget to purchase seedlings or cuttings or looking for these, certified smart seeds from cafes. You can start from your neighbor, that grower who is doing a summer flower. For example, I've said Arabicum.
Yes.
And has small seeds you can easily purchase, even with up to 500 shillings. 500 shillings, you can get a few bulbs, multiply them within your farm, and then from that you can multiply based on your capacity. I know farmers who can do an acre or two of onions can do a quarter of Hypericum, can do a quarter of Arabicum, can do a quarter of Astromeria. Those are the lilies, and they are easily to produce. So if the farmer can multiply the seeds by just sourcing from the neighbor or that exporter, people are interested. The government is interested, and is very much one of the strengths that we have now in flower production is the good collaboration that we are getting from the key players in flower production. The government is very much willing now to diversify the farming practices among the smallholders. And there are foundations that are geared towards helping the small-scale producer to diversify in terms of commercial production.
Very, very critical.
Yes.
And even as we tap into that, because input has always been a challenge in this country, the cost of input. So you find, especially if you're not scaling enough, it becomes very difficult for you to have returns. And we've seen this in different sectors. In the flower sector, how is the cost of input, especially if for small-scale players who are coming in, how critical is that element? Is it cause of concern that farmers should be wary of?
Noah, just like you had said, that Kenya is lying along the equator. We enjoy a very, what I would call, favorable climate for flower production with no limitation. The only challenge now that we are having is the effects of climate change. But when you look at inputs or factors of production, they are readily available. We have large tracts of land. And you find even the person who is calling himself a small-scale farmer can afford to get a quarter, some even a plot. Because of the high value of the crop, it will be in a position to, the crop in itself will be in a position to break even or to be of economic value to a very low unit of production. And that's why I'm saying even a quarter, at times even a plot, will be sufficient for somebody to practice flower farming. And then let me take you back to the ancient times a little bit. And you remember, flower farming is the only enterprise that has been recorded as one of the wonders of the world.
Really?
Yeah. When you talk about the hanging gardens of Babylon, those who are ornamentals, that is the only crop
I see that.
You can have a small-scale farmer can do. You know what King Nebuchadnezzar II did in order to impress the wife, because he had come from Iran, now modern-day Iran, because now we are talking of Iraq here, in where they were building the hanging gardens. Is that the wife aspired to observe the green hills from where she had come from. And then people, and that is why it became a wonder, how do you now feed in those days? In those days, how do you feed the crops? How do you, feed the crops? How do you manage pests and diseases?
Yes.
And they were there hanging gardens. So it is possible even to start with hanging some pots, even baskets, around the house, which can be used for commercial purposes. I know, Noah, you have a potted plant somewhere.
Yeah.
The money plant. I can see it from your house or something like that.
I see. You have so much faith on me, with this issue of plants, yeah?
Yes.
But I'm getting a lot of encouragement. And also just how enthusiastic you are about flowers.
Yes.
It's pretty amazing.
Yes.
You touched on the issue of fertilizer, and you had mentioned, now there is a new type that we are using, especially for export market. They're very sensitive in terms of what we use in production, the input.
Yes.
Talk to me about that aspect of pest management in flower farming. Where are we as a country? Are we adhering with these different rules that cut across different jurisdictions that we hope to get market into?
Thanks a lot. Talking about pest control as a key component and a factor in production of quality, because nobody will allow you to export any plant material, CAFES being there, and also me and you, because you don't want somebody to bring in the country a plant that has been infested by a foreign pest that will be obnoxious in our production endeavors. So we are moving, and that is now the current thing. We are moving from the use of synthetic pest control products. Of course, pest control products, they are classified into basically three classifications. One in terms of origin, where are we getting these pest control products? Are they synthetics? Are they plant extracts? Are they microbials, what you call microbes? Such, that is classification based on origin. And again, you can also classify at the World Health Organization. And that is where the big debate lies now, when you talk about World Health Organization of pest control products. Highly toxic, moderately toxic, those that can cause no toxicological effects in terms of human health and environmental health. So we are moving now towards the use of pest control products that are of plant origin. Either they are extracts from plants, or they are microbials. Microbials are antagonistic microorganisms that are in a position to control, either by feeding or emitting substances that are going to keep away the pests. So these ones have no issues towards towards human health, because extracts, when you are talking about, for example, pyrethrins, pyrethrins are pest control products that have been obtained from pyrethrum. We have, for example, garlic has been observed to produce pest repelling, even knocking down substances. And that is where I'm actually coming from. And as an expert in crop science, again, I have narrowed down into pest control products. And where I am, we are championing the use of biopesticides. So farmers are not disadvantaged in terms of pest management. Nutrition, again, we have various players that are producing the required nutrients for the plants.
Okay.
Of course, I have heard farmers talking about the fertilizer called NPK. There is nothing like that. There is no fertilizer by the name NPK. NPK are plant nutrients in form of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. The fertilizers have their own names.
Okay.
Where you find the lay person will walk into an agro bedding shop and ask for the fertilizer by the name NPK. Just like you cannot walk into a hotel and ask for proteins, vitamin, give me protein, vitamin, and carbohydrates. Similarly, when you go into a shop, a farmer goes into a shop and asks for NPK, you are basically asking for...
but there are nutrients that
those are nutrients. Fertilizers have names.
Okay.
Definitely. Based on who is producing and...
Okay. Definitely.
Yes.
Dr. Harry, this issue is quite extensive, honestly. Today we just touched on tip of the iceberg, as we call it, looking at the overview of the flower industry.
Correct.
I think in our subsequent shows, we intend to go into details. For example, when it comes to pest and crop management, how to do it, what's the right way, what's the wrong way, especially for small-scale farmers and whatnot. But thank you very much for today and for your input. And gracing our show, Dr. Mwaniki Taiti is a crop scientist, and we're talking about flower farming. I think now we've started building the knowledge on how to get into flower farming. And the Farm Kenya show takes a short break. When we come back, ladies and gentlemen, we are not eating flowers, but we are making some interesting burger. Stay tuned. Asante sana daktari.